Hi, welcome to Skills on Sunday for June 7th, 2020. I'm your host, DM Gallibond. Alright, today on Skills on Sunday, we are going to be looking at the medicine skill and its precedence in various editions of D&D. Let's go ahead and flip on over here to the D&D Beyond and take a look at what medicine does in 5th edition. Now, the general rule in 5th edition is that they have simplified and expanded the scope of what different skills and abilities and things will do in 5th edition as opposed to other editions where they got very granular. But medicine, quite curiously, is one of those where it seems like they have gone the opposite way. They kind of have gimped the skill compared to what it has done in the past or what its precedent skills have done in the past. All right, so medicine simply lets you try to stabilize a dying character or diagnose an illness. Just not a whole lot to it. Uh, if you're in a fight and somebody is in the negatives and is making death saves, you can run over and you can attempt a medicine check to stabilize them and stop them from having to make death saves. That's really about all it's good for. Or if a party member is sick and nobody knows what they're sick, you might be able to use a medicine check to figure out what's ailing them. All right, well, if we go all the way back to the beginnings, the original rules for D&D, and we look at now, they didn't have a skill called medicine, but they had a skill called healing in that game. And that gave you that if you took the healing skill, they gave you the ability to treat wounds and diagnose illness among humans and demi-humans. They called dwarves and elves and halflings demi-humans. They did not call them humanoids. A successful skill roll allows a character to restore 1d3 hit points to a wounded character. And then there was yet another granular skill called veterinary healing, where you could restore hit points to like a mount, a horse, or a companion animal like a dog or something. Skill cannot be used on a wounded character more than once for the same set of wounds. If the character receives new wounds, healing skill can be applied, blah, 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 blah. So it actually allows you to restore hit points in this edition of the game. And then another interesting thing is that skills like armor class worked in reverse. So when you were making attack with a 20-sided die, the higher the number, the better the roll. But if you're trying to use a skill, the lower the number, the better the roll. And with healing, it was kind of a risky one because if you roll a natural 20 when trying to use the healing skill, instead of restoring 1d3 hit points, you actually inflict 1d3 hit points of damage to to the person you're trying to help. So there were these rules for botches built right into the base rule set. And then skill rolls could also be used to to determine an illness if the character's not injured, but if they're just sick, if they have an illness, you can roll it. And if you succeed by 5 or more, then you get to tell whether the illness is magical or mundane. All right, so then let's look at in first edition, AD&D. They really didn't have that. That all the skills system kind of went by the wayside, and they didn't do much of anything with it. Now, they brought back proficiencies in second edition, and that's kind of what stood in for skills there. And there was a healing proficiency. Um, and if you have healing, this character knows how to use natural medicines, basic principles of first aid and doctoring. And once again, the successful skill check will restore 1d3 hit points. And then they, you know, now there were different rules back in those days about how fast you could recover hit points. Normally, if all the way through second edition, normally if you were injured, it took 8 hours of rest at night and no strenuous activity during the day to regain 1 hit point of lost healing. Um, and you would have to do that for a total of 30 days before you could begin to add your constitution bonus every day to your hit points recovered. So adventures were designed as things that you would go on adventures and then you have a lot of downtime in between adventures. And so, you always talk about downtime activities, stuff that, well, that's where that came from, is people saying, well, my character's like down to 2 out of 60 hit points, so, and I don't have any gold. So what am I going to do for 58 days while I sit around and recover? Okay, well, we have a downtime activities, and that's what your character does during that time. So you can, if there's somebody with the healing proficiency around for a wounded character, they can still regain 1 hit point per day when traveling or engaging in non-strenuous activity. And if they have complete rest, it doubles the rate of healing. And then it says only characters with both healing and herbalism proficiencies can help others recover at the rate of 3 hit points per day. So, character with healing can also attempt to aid a poisoned individual, provided the poison came in through a wound, and there's stuff about that, and also attempt to diagnose and treat diseases. When dealing with normal disease, successful automatically figures that out, and whatnot, and so on and so forth. Okay, now in third edition, they finally brought in skills as skills. And here you had the heal skill. And this skill could keep a badly wounded friend from dying, help others recover faster from wounds, keep your friend from succumbing to a wyvern's poison sting, or treat disease. And then there were various different DCs depending on what you were trying to do. And first aid, you can stabilize a character, or long-term care means you can raise the help the person recover more rapidly. Now in third edition, the calculus of the rate of hit point recovery changed. Instead of 1 point per day, it was 1 hit point per level of experience. So if you're a 5th level character, you would regain 5 hit points per day of rest, or every time you had a night of rest, and double that if you had a full day of rest. So if you have somebody with a heal skill, then instead of 1 point per level of recovery, it's 2 points per level for recovery if you get 8 hours of rest, or 4 points per level of recovery for every full day of complete rest. And then also recovering ability points. And then there's also other things. Treat wounds from caltrop, spike growth, or spike stones. That can let you treat those and heal those completely. treat poison, and treat disease. And then it describes what the action is, when you are allowed to try again, and then special circumstances around having this particular skill. And then finally in 4th edition, well, heal shows up here too. You know how to help someone recover from wounds or debilitating conditions. And first aid, standard action and varies. So there was a mechanic or a resource in um, 4th edition called Healing Surges. And there was a mechanic that every character had. In 5e, only fighters get it. But it was a mechanic called Second Wind, which allowed you to basically use a healing surge in the middle of combat. Now, for everybody except, I think it was everybody except dwarves, you had to spend an action doing a healing surge. Dwarves got it as a bonus action, or a minor action, I should say, in the parlance of 4E. Then stabilize the dying, that's been there all along, and grant a saving throw. Then you also can use heal checks for treating disease as well. So basically, the heal doesn't itself restore hit points, but if you succeed, then they're allowed to regain hit points at the rate of a healing surge, which is a quarter of their total hit points. So that is how the heal skill worked in 4th edition. And again, those are all antecedents to the current 5e medicine skill. All right, I'd be very curious in your game, whether you're a player, whether you are a DM, I'd be very curious how you play the medicine skill in 5e. It always feels like, you know, that the older editions kind of had that one right, and that it's a decent way of providing a little bit of healing, not necessarily as much as you could get from a healing potion, but a little bit more than what you could without it. And so I'm curious what you guys are doing in terms of using the medicine skill in your games. Leave a comment if you have any thoughts on that. Also, if you like what we're doing on this channel, you can click the subscribe button and you can ring the bell, and that will let you know every time we post new content on the channel. We put out content every day here on YouTube. So if you ring the bell, you'll find out every time that posts. And that's going to, oh, and also in the description down below, you'll see all the information of how to follow me on social media and how to get in touch with me in other ways. All right, take care, everyone. Hope you have a great evening, a wonderful day, and we will see you here next time. Remember, tomorrow we're going to be continuing our series on Ravnican monsters and looking at monsters from House Demir that I pulled out of the Guilds of Ravnica card set and then transposed into D&D, giving them D&D like spell blocks or stat blocks and all those kinds of things. All right, well, take care, everybody, and we will talk to you later. That is going to do it for us here on the channel today. Good night, everyone.